The Irishman is gathering buzz, and it seems like it's going to be the frontrunner for the Oscars this year. Scorsese and De Niro are back together again, in what some are calling a masterpiece. I had, well, let's call them issues with the film. Don't get me wrong, I love watching Scorsese work, but I did have those issues. The first hour felt like an old Scorsese film, and I absolutely loved it. The last hour was actually my favorite of the film, and it had really something to say about those genre of films and the characters inside them. But the middle was a little rough for me. Now, I didn't attach myself to Al Pacino's character at all. And honestly, if you could boil it down, that's probably the main issue. But it felt like it dragged. I lost interest, and I didn't care about the union at all. Still, I digress. That's not what we're here to talk about today. I want to talk about de-aging and why I don't particularly love it. I know there are some amazing uses of this, like Kurt Russell in Guardians, but The Irishman shows exactly why I dislike it. Now, way back when, films would cast different actors to play different ages for a character. And unless the character was only slightly aged up, or for a simple scene where they're very old, they would just use makeup. The problem has really never been aging up an actor. Makeup has always done a pretty passable job. I mean, there are varying levels of success, but still, it can be good. The problem has been with making an actor younger. There have been many ways that have been attempted, but most notably, and the one we're talking about today, and the most common, is the de-aging technique, which means an actor is placed in a normal scenario, filmed normally, and then they pretty much just smooth their face. Take away those wrinkles and all, and make them appear younger. As simple as that. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand why they do this. Recasting a different actor for a different portion of the film causes some disconnect. It's why I felt like Ryan Gosling and this guy from The Notebook were never the same character. De-aging does work, but the main problem I have with it isn't the technology at all. The tech is always getting better, and it's becoming less and less jarring. The problem comes down to the actor. An 80-year-old man playing someone who's 30 to 40 just doesn't feel the same. We move differently at every single age, and honestly, by the time you reach those higher numbers, you can tell those movements, they don't match the face. You lose flexibility, you develop a hunch, or simply your joints just ache. You don't move the same way. You can tell in The Irishman that their physicality is just different, and it makes me just not believe the character and takes me out of the story. Honestly, you just don't need to look further than this scene.
I'm sorry. No, please. No, please. Ah! No! I'm not afraid! No!
It's laughable. The wide shot shows all De Niro's movements, and it feels like he's 100 plus. I mean, there are ways to hide this kind of movement. Now, this scene could have been shot a different way that would have hid the motion. And honestly, if the actor's not really doing anything physical, it would be less obvious. But there's a way that you even present yourself at that age. The way you sit, the way you act when you're talking, and how you just live in your skin. It feels different. Like in Captain Marvel, same thing. A de-aged Samuel L. Jackson even sitting there at the diner, or in a fight scene where he feels like an old man just trying to keep up. Like, look at the way he runs, low to the ground. Low impact on his joints because they're probably bothering him. Sure, I am nitpicking here, but I constantly see this over and over again, and it takes me out of the story. And honestly, those movements matter. If you're looking past that, and it doesn't bother you like it does with me, de-aging still has one glaring issue on top of that. It's about how our face changes when we age. It doesn't simply just develop wrinkles. The shape changes, our skin sags, our nose droop, our ears become bigger. Your face right now, the exact shape you have, will not be the same throughout your life. As you reach old age, it's gonna change. And de-aging doesn't really adjust for that. It just smooths the skin. Now, there might be an alternative. I'm sure you haven't seen Gemini Man, because honestly, I haven't. But they didn't just de-age Will Smith for this film. The younger version of Will Smith isn't using the same effect as The Irishman. It's actually 100% CGI. His face was essentially projected onto himself, and his performance was captured via motion capture. It's not a filter on top of that video. It was shot differently, same way that the Planet of the Apes were shot. And honestly, this would solve a lot of the face shape problems with de-aging. It honestly would help with the physicality as well, because you could just simply put that face on anyone. I know Star Wars has attempted it with Leia and Tarkin, but the technology was kind of in its infancy. And as it gets better, CGI just might be the way to go. Track the performance, then replace the entire face. So what do you think of de-aging? Did you enjoy The Irishman? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much to my patrons. Adam Gray, Jeremy Jacobs, Jenny Edwards, Jeremy Robson, Gabe Marchandage, Trevor Cowan, Gunnar Legland, Colleen West, Estet Habzaj, Marco Perry, Roland, Adam McShane, Shalon Hudson, Kieran Hunt, George Conan, Brandon Warner, Sweevy, Alex Tao, and Derek B. Bell. Thanks guys, and see you in the next video.